Welcome back to the Nordic Championship. We're into our last game of the day, and it's Nordavind versus Singularity. Now, cast your mind back to the start of the league. A lot of people would have predicted this to be the premier matchup in this league. As the way the scores have gone, it's very much the opposite. Nordavind at 2-6, Singularity at 7-1, and Singularity took the last game with relative ease as well. So, okay, relative ease is maybe not.
I mean, that was a week one game, and I was close.
You're close, yeah.
I think there was a mid difference. Krogsund was outperforming Nita, and that decided it. It was super close in the end, but I think at the time we were thinking, wow, these are two top teams, close matchup, and then Nordavind just fell from there.
Yeah.
And really, they have redeemed it recently, so this is a potential chance for them to challenge Singularity, but Singularity on paper is still looking like the stronger roster. Riot's had massive games on the Ezreal. Scoot has been a monster on the farming junglers. Krogsund in that Syndra game was good, although he has been a little bit over-aggressive recently and nearly had like that monster Aurelia game where he just 1v9'd the game.
I remember that very, very clearly. We're into draft, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to jump into this game already. We're just very, very quick on the button and getting into draft. We're obviously a little bit behind schedule, 5 minutes or so, but it doesn't matter. Nordavind on blue side, Singularity on red. Bard ban by Nordavind very early on, followed by the Pantheon, the first one we've seen of the day up against Nordavind.
Yeah, so Nordavind often play around having pretty high pressure mid-jungle for Nita and Aesthetic. This can be good for punishing Krogsund, but my concern is that what they often do is they give Aesthetic and Nita picks that need to win early. They give them picks that fall off massively, and as a result, when they don't hit that mark in the early game, the game just feels pretty rough from then on outwards. I would like to see Nordavind maybe give Nita something that has agency in the late game, and Aesthetic as well. Aesthetic has been really solid in that game against Vipers. He was a monster on Elise, but Elise is Elise. You hit late in the game, that champion is useless. I think Nordavind, if they give themselves the right tools, this is a team that could challenge at every stage of the game, although the early little bit lacking, I'd say, for the most part. There's sometimes it's good, sometimes it's pretty rough. So I think a more well-rounded draft that gives them options at any stage of the game is what has favored them, particularly in their wins. But we've flown through bans so far. Aphelios still stands out as being open, but Ornn is the even bigger one, especially we're on 10.4 now. So that's So remember, Ornn was like really strong, and then they buffed Sunfire.
Yeah, now he's even
His win rate in solo queue was 52%. After the buff, it was 57. Now, there was a hot fix to nerf that, but it's still pretty strong.
He's still very, very, very good. I think Aphelios being up on the table is a must, I feel, for Singularity. Otherwise, you're probably giving a little bit too much, although Chrisberg is obviously a big Ezreal fan, and taking that away from him.
I think it's just Rai on Ezreal. He's an absolute monster on that champion. His game he had last week, he was just, against Hybrid, he was just 1v9ing so hard. He was so good on that champion.
You don't have to take Yuumi right now, but
take Yuumi all, to be honest. I feel like Yuumi is kind of tied up with Ezreal.
Yeah.
You could play Lucian. Yeah, Yuumi, it's not as good. I feel like you've only really seen Ezreal Yuumi, but Ezreal you can pick by himself and he still functions.
Yeah.
The game we saw last from Rai did just have the Ezreal, so I think it's a strong performer. And we see the Lee Sin come out from...
It's a big one for Scoot.
Yeah, so my concern here is that there's a Karth that's open and available, and Karth's jungle with Braum mid is super hard to deal with. And it means that Aesthetic and Nita, it's not like they have no agency early, but they don't have that same limitation we've seen from them where if they miss their mark in the early game is over.
They've got good scaling if you look at the Karth.
Yeah, and if you compare to Team Singularity, Ezreal, Lee Sin, they don't scale super well.
It's going to be the Lucian lock-in here for Nordavind. We'll see what they follow up with. Like you said, that really insane combo of Ornn mid and Karth's jungle is up and around for them if they want it.
It functions as well if you run the Lucian mid. The main thing is priority in the mid lane, and Lucian can provide that. Nita feeling confident if he does want to play this one. We've seen a lot more Lucian mid than we have in other lanes.
It's a Kindred.
Aesthetic instead going for the Kindred. So something that doesn't offer quite as much in terms of the global pressures to Karthus, but similarly, you want a mid laner with priority if you're playing the Kindred. You want to be able to farm, you want to be able to contest, you want to be protected in your own jungle. Question's going to be what's a Singularity you want to respond with.
It's interesting. Definitely the draft's gone a different way than I thought it would do. Nordavind playing their own game more so than anything else. Krogsund's Cassiopeia, a staple for him, comes out, and that gives him some late game scaling as well.
Yeah, and I think against short range carries like the Kindred and Lucian, very scary to play into the Cassiopeia.
Yeah.
And against the Ornn, you have something that can actually kill the Ornn. So we said Ezreal, Lee Sin, pretty early game focused. It gives them an out in the later stages of the game, so they're not completely tied into that. Now, the second stage of bans, for Singularity, I feel like you don't have as many options. You can ban away mid, but that Lucian can still be flexed. You could target support. But again, you haven't picked your support, so it depends if you have a priority pick you want to take. Potentially that Yuumi, but it does lose your priority pretty hard if they do go something like the Lucian. On the side of Nordavind, I think you just look towards the top lane. It's the one lane that is kind of left open that you've picked your own for, we assume. So I just look to target things up there. Already we see the Camille go. Mordekaiser would be a solid ban. But if we're looking specifically at Nilly, he does like the Aurelia, but I would not play Aurelia into Yorn. Not a fun matchup.
No, well, like I said, Nilly's got a lot of picks up his sleeve, although the Aurelia was a pick that he performed well on. Again, it's a tough matchup for him into the Ornn, so I doubt he'll be defaulting onto it. And they also don't even need a huge damage carry in the top side. When you have a Cassiopeia, she can just output a ridiculous damage in the late game as well, so you could even just go blow for blow. The Aurelia does get banned, however, and they are scared of what Nilly can do with that particular champion. Support now open, I would imagine, but you could also just take your top laner, since you're pretty well aware of what you think you're going into, and then maybe look for a bot lane matchup with a favorable support there.
Yeah, it depends what you're taking in the bot lane. And the thing is that the Ornn can still be flexed. They can still run Ornn mid, Lucian AD carry, even Lucian top lane. So I think that's why there's a little bit of concern potentially with picking the top laner here. And they end up just going for the Leona. So a lot of lockdown CC enabled for Vayu. Not the greatest sort of lane synergy. Typically we see like Misfortune paired in tandem with Leona, but I think this is specifically because Raya is just so good on Ezreal. And there's a lot of mobility available to him and the Lee Sin as well. That's going to be pretty hard for Nordavind to deal with, especially the Ornal. You're kind of limited with targets you can hit and get maximum effectiveness on. And actually see the Victor come out. So it's going to be Lucian in the bot lane, Lucian Thresh, pretty aggressive lane, can obviously establish prio because he shoves in the Ezreal. And the Thresh is good at disengaging Leona. We have the Victor mid. Something that's not as strong at getting priority, but I like it because Naito, we've seen him struggle when he's forced to win early.
But you get to level 9, you can just clear waves as well.
Yeah, it's better into the Cassiopeia. And now for Singularity, they pick a top laner. Set's open. Aatrox is a potential Mordekaiser, but I think they're just going to take the Set.
Set's really good. Gangplank also fine. They're going to pick the Gangplank here.
Wanted to play more weak side towards him, so there's a lot of options there if you want to pressure the top lane. But in the end, this is going to give something that if they want to make plays on the rest of the map, gives them advantages there. Now,
also have a 1-3-1 potential with the Cassiopeia shoving in a side lane as well.
Potentially, I think not too much stuff in that regard.
She just shoves lanes, though. She just shoves lanes.
Not against Victor, though.
True.
I feel like Victor can, once he gets his lasers going, just blows up the wave. If she's stronger, sure, she can challenge him on that. But again, in the top lane as well, Gangplank doesn't get much going against Yorn because he has the wave play. You can trap him in that lane. It's probably better off as a 1-4. But overall, Nordavind, pretty short range composition for the most part, which is what I'm concerned about. You're going up against Ezreal, you're going up against Cassiopeia Gangplank, so that's a little bit concerning. But they have a lot of scaling components to their team, but as does Singularity. I think this is very much who finds their win conditions better. The big thing I do like is that Naito and Aesthetic, they're not the ones on champions who have to win early, and also Chrisberg, he's not on an immobile AD carry. And the reason this has been a struggle is a lot of games Chrisberg has struggled to find his mark because he's playing the likes of a Varus or a Senna or an Aphelios.
And he's just been heavy targeted.
Yeah, especially up against things like a Gangplank. He presses R on you, and it's like you have to run to the edge of the ultimate or you just lose half your HP when it gets to the later stage of the game. Whereas with Lucian, you have the dash, you have the mobility, and it allows him to play aggressive in this bot lane. And Advian on Thresh, when he has played this, was stellar. So I'm keen to see him playing this one out, especially when up against a Leona. It's very much about landing those plays consistently to disengage the Zenith Blade.
Well, we'll see. We are heading into this final game. We're loading onto the Rift. Nordavind versus Singularity. Singularity obviously at the top of the table. If Nordavind do take a win here, Singularity will be locked at the same score as Vipers at 7-2 at the end of the week. So it could be a chance for Vipers to sort of claw their way back over the next few weeks, and obviously a much needed win for Nordavind, because if they don't start winning now, they ain't getting to playoffs. This is do or die for them versus one of the top teams, or literally the top team in the league right now. And they have a composition that's kind of gone a different direction to what we usually see from them. So it's nice to see Naita and Aesthetic with a bit more late game prerogative for their team.
Absolutely, and it's just, I would see things like the Elise Kiana, and it just felt like when they didn't instantly win the game, it just fell apart. Whereas here, if it goes later, they have tools to go toe-to-toe with them. And I'm hyped. We've got a lot of sort of pocket picks, that you could say. You know, we have Ryze, Ezreal, we have Krogs and Cassiopeia, Scud and Lee Sin. And on the other side, Aesthetic bringing out the Kindred, Advian on the Thresh. All big enjoyable ones to see. Nothing too crazy coming out in the early game. No invades as of such. And obviously, he's looking towards Scoot and Way. He's trying to apply pressure. He's starting on the top side, typical, because this top lane matchup isn't really too interactive. And he's going to path down lower. Aesthetic on the Kindred is going to go bot to top, but essentially that for a large amount could be just avoiding the Lee Sin.
Yeah, I think in the early game, you definitely want to try and do that. Don't want to get locked into an early game battle with Lee Sin, because he's just much better duelist than Kindred and can close the gap very effectively as well, which is something that Kindred will struggle with.
In fairness, you can actually do okay on Kindred if because you can outplay the...
You can dodge the Sonic Wave. Right? So.
And if Scoot misplays and you find the jump on him as Kindred, you can actually potentially chase him down, but it's not a good one. It's not it's a risky one to go for.
Like you need to hit the perfect stride to really outplay the Lee Sin in that scenario.
Yeah, and I don't feel Scoot's the one to allow that to happen.
He's a very well established Lee Sin player.
He's been a pretty strong performer throughout in this roster. I think I can safely say. I don't think he's made too many mistakes overall. There definitely have been mistakes from some members of the team, but he's been pretty solid.
Just zoning out in this bot lane, you'd imagine that with Chris Berg. And Advian just going up against the lane that it wouldn't have much agency in the start of the game right now for Ray and Vayu. They're just sort of outranged, and you see Thresh is putting on a lot of pressure on, especially at level 1 where they can't even find the engage. And even then, post level 1, the Zenith Blade can get flayed away. So don't think this is going to be a great lane for Singularity. They're just going to have to kind of, I guess, weather the storm.
Yeah, the big thing is getting out of the lane. Once you have the Leona later on, she's great engage setup, especially onto the likes of Nita if she can move towards mid. Good lockdown onto the Kindred if you can connect. And the Ezreal, we've seen what it can do in the mid game. We've seen what it can specifically do in the hands of Rai and how monstrous he can be on this champion.
Krogson going aggressive here.
That is Krogson 101.
Yeah.
Mage vs Mage matchup. No farming for you. Looking for the challenge consistently, but Krogson a little bit overextended. Scoot's there to cover, but...
Oh, Hazel doesn't quite find the knock-up here, and Nilly will just be backing off. Aesthetic tries to wrap his way around the alcove. Actually, an aggressive play by Scoot here. Lands the Sonic Wave onto Advian, immediately jumps in onto the ward and continues to pressure, looking for the second Sonic Wave here.
Just the power of Red Buff just running him down, and I don't think Advian expected him to go in, so he didn't flay him to disengage. And Scooty burns a flash, essentially for free here, and this is a critical thing. He's applying pressure mid, so Krogson can play aggressive. Krogson has been someone who's been punished a couple of times for overstepping, but if Scoot is playing around him, he's able to just go far forwards. And Kindred does pick up a stack there off that Scuttle Crab.
It's always nice when you manage to pick up your early marks, especially when you can get hold of that Scuttle. Something that we should keep an eye on throughout this game, because it does sort of significantly increase her damage potential as the game goes on. And
the range as well. Range is such a big thing. We said this Nordavind composition, pretty short range. If Kindred can start to pick up constant stacks, then that doesn't become as much of an issue in the later stages.
No. Well, the first one on the board, like we said. Krogson, again, he is... I think he's just went back and picked up a corrupting potion here to give him some extra sustain in this lane.
I think he picked up the Doran's ring. He had the corrupting potion.
Oh, did he already have the corrupting potion? I thought... No, I think he started with the Doran's ring, you know. I think he started with Doran's and 2 pots. I'm almost certain he started with Doran's and 2 pots.
Maybe. I'm going to check this, and we'll get a qualified answer from Mr. Observer Client.
Mr. Observer Client. Nearly actually, again, struggling.
You are right. You are right. You proved me wrong.
I'm so sorry. I didn't.
No, it's fine. You don't have to apologize for being correct. I'm misinformed. So, yeah. He did start with the Doran's ring, 2 pots, and went for the corruption, but now Bayou's looking for... Oh, the miasma as well.
Oh, beautiful. Goodbye. Easy kill. First blood for Krogson. Nice setup from Vio. Lovely roam there. And that immediately gives Krogson an advantage because they burnt the teleport on Nita as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing I was talking about. If you can get the Leona to go mid lane, she's super punishing onto that Victor, especially with the miasma lockdown to follow up. And Nita felt confident. He had Aesthetic with him. He was like, I'm fine. Ultimately, he wasn't.
Scoot now going to head on to this dragon. And Nilly actually, I think, forced to back and teleport in. He actually got battered by Vezor in the 1v1 there. Vezor can now just back off and teleport back into lane himself too.
It's like he's not giving up. He wants this mark. Really it has reset, and Leona's posturing. I think they have to give this one up.
Yeah, I don't think you can fight it at this point in time, especially.
You don't have mid priority, and you don't have a good read on where Krogson is. So Krogson could walk back through the jungle and turn up as you're contesting that. So they end up just giving up the mark.
He's still going. He's working his way into the jungle again once more. Maybe looking.
But he's on a ward. They're just going to reset it again. They're just going to keep resetting it.
He
hasn't. He can get this.
He looks for a smite. I think he's just going to go for the smite here, surely, just to secure it as another mark. But they are going to try and lock onto him. A great flay, and Veo can't actually land the stun. They're going to go on to Advian, who does not have the flash right now. Scoot gets pulled pulled in. The Gangplank ultimate is there as well. They're going to go on to Aesthetic, who flashes and gets another mark from the back of that. Beautiful play from Aesthetic, and now he's going to kite away from Bio. The healing from the fruit, and Aesthetic with a monstrous play. They absolutely outplay in the early game here. That is a 1v1 kill for Krogson in the meantime as he tried to cut off, but that is brilliant for Aesthetic. 3 stacks now and a kill.
Oh, that was so huge. It was so close. And I feel like the big issue there was not synergy between the target selections for Singularity. Scood and Veu were on different members. Clearly, Scood was saying, hey, go for the Thresh. He's got no flash. Veu was like, Kindred's a priority. He's got the damage. And I think Veu was right.
I think Veu was right, yeah.
The Kindred ran away with that one. And then ultimately, Krogson finding a 1v1 kill in the mid lane, which is... Krogson plays his mage matchup so aggressive, and Nita has really struggled against him. In the last game, it was really rough. They did not have a good matchup between those two, and it was just permanently Krogson slaughtering Nita.
So I'm actually just going to let you know something that we missed as well. I actually think Ray picked up a solo kill on Lucian in the bot lane. He's got a kill, and Chris Beggar's dead. So there was another 2 solo kills happened. So while Aesthetic made that insane outplay, the laners from Singularity kind of brought it back in with 2 solo kills individually.
Yikes. That's a rough one. The fact that you make that huge skirmish play and then you just get 2 people.
You mentioned he's incredibly good at Ezreal.
He is. I'll give him that, but that should not be happening. Lucian should not be getting solo killed by... I mean, look at Ezreal's items, right? Is that I'm going to solo kill you Ezreal build? No, that is just a misplay coming out from Chris.
Or an outplay from Ray.
Yeah,
I'm saying that wrong. Could you tell me how to say it again?
Ray.
Ray. I keep saying Ray.
Like Ray Charles.
Yeah, but it's just I'm pronouncing it like an idiot. Ray.
Yeah, but Kindred now 575 range, so actually has a decent amount of range available to him, which is nice. Yeah, and so I'm looking at the play, and Chrisberg tried for the solo kill and flashed under the enemy tower and died. That's how the 1v1 went down.
So actually it was a misplay from Chrisberg rather than an outplay from Rai.
Yeah, and then the play in the mid lane was them trading heavily, and then Krogson hits level 6.
Nilly flashes out from that ultimate. He will go down, and Wezo will be very easily able to just back out from that too.
That's just on things.
Yeah,
too tanky.
Just on things. The True Shot Barrage was coming through to maybe pick up a stray kill, but it can't happen. And Nilly not even going to be able to teleport back here. They're going to lose plates. And there is Krog's mark that no one is going to be able to contest, and Aesthetic will pick up.
Yeah, and he's doing really strong in terms of these stacks. Now, Krogson is really establishing dominance on this mid lane matchup. He's up in farm. Now, looks back at the 1v1, and essentially what happened was Knight to hit level 6, flashed in, turned away to dodge the stun from the Petrifying Gaze, but it wasn't enough, and Krogson ran him down, which he's doing again here.
Krogson just a little bit.
But he fails it.
I mean, you mentioned to me one of the issues that Krogson has had is he sometimes gets a bit overzealous with his plays. That was a prime example of, I need to do something. Let me just tower dive the Victor with Flash.
Yeah, well, I think what he saw was Naito was having a bad time, and he went, here's a freebie on me. And he hands a kill over, which is, he's going to take very nicely. The Victor was struggling. He's able to shove the wave in and reset. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite crash into the tower. But I believe beige is the color for the perfect hex core. I will just double check.
I'm waiting on with bated breath.
No, I think it's just the...
I think, isn't red the perfect hex core?
Mark 1. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Been a long time since I played too much Victor. But yeah, he's got Mark 1, so he's upgraded the Death Ray for the wave clear. So that's a nice thing to have. Obviously, a while ago, when Victor was in the meta, they changed it so the first upgrade cost 1,250, which kind of mitigates how early you can get that, especially if you're never finding a good back because you keep getting solo killed by Krogson. But fortunately, he gets the kill, so he's able to buy it, and now he has a lot more wave clear. He actually just reset again and got a lost chapter, so he has the mana afforded to be able to cut through those waves.
Yeah, exactly. He's in a much better position than he was just a few moments ago. Krogson gifting him that. And Nordavind, I mentioned, this was a game to step up. Specifically, Nita and Aesthetic, and Aesthetic is definitely doing so.
Aesthetic's having a monster game, and I feel like Aesthetic is so much better suited because he is performing so well when he is not in a champion like Elise, who becomes useless after a point.
I've
He's not a
always-
champion that will just keep ramping up.
Yeah, I've always felt Aesthetic is like a carry jungler. As whenever I've seen him perform well, he's always been like a big carry jungler, like with a lot of onus is put on him to do work throughout the game. Nearly we'll see that Aesthetic has turned up top side.
Nah, that's what you should do. Is you should get Wazor to move over and then pretend he's the one who plays the ward.
Yeah.
That's the high IQ play.
I think they're not even that bothered though. They're just looking for more
They wanna
turret
play,
plates.
yeah.
And they have that ultimate. They have the Rift Herald too. This is
And this is really well timed because they get it low enough so that the Herald just finishes off the last 2 tankier plates. So perfect execution from Nordavind. They're going to get this full tower. They get the first one. They're now 2,500 gold up. Exactly what they need.
something, maybe a switch has kind of been turned on here for Nordavind because they are playing much better. They're definitely playing up to their competition right now. And like you said, the first week game between Nordavind and Singularity was a bit of a close affair. So this is just them again looking to repeat that kind of play. And Aesthetic has been a monster, just battering Scoot in terms of farm and impact on the map.
Yeah, and Scoot, we've seen him play a lot of farming junglers recently. The Talia, the Nidalee, not so much, I believe, but it is something in his wheelhouse, and the Karthus as well.
Another mark, by the way, picked up by Aesthetic.
Yeah, it's huge. He's on 6 now. Needs another 2 before he gets another range increase, but he's just getting stronger and stronger. But yeah, Scoot, when he's playing a farming jungler, there's not too many concerns. Speaking of concerns...
And another mark picked up for Aesthetic as he kills...
He's just chaining them.
Yeah, he kills the gangplank on the top side there. One more mark before he gets another range increase, like you said. And if I were Singularity, I would be very scared of what Aesthetic can do in these team fights.
This is like best case scenario for a Kindred, in all honesty. And ult will get used there. Phase rush procs for Niter so he can run through the miasma, but ultimately he's just ult and clear the wave. He chunks Kroggson out as well. And he's in a much more comfortable position. He's still down in farm, still down in kills.
But it doesn't matter, just don't die.
Just clear the wave.
Yeah.
Press A, zoom, wave dead, done. And then let Aesthetic just hard carry this game as he is doing right now. He's now moved towards the bot side of the map with that tower being down. He's looking for fresh kills. Kroggson getting chunked out again here.
He just can't step up at this point. It's very difficult. He just gets immediately pushed back on. And despite that early solo death by Chrisberg, he's managed to just continue to be effective. Oh my God, Scoot, you are
He's
just dead. Is that another mark for Aesthetic? I just don't know.
He's on 9.
He's on 9 marks, Aesthetic. 9. Absolutely ludicrous. This is almost FF at 15.
I believe so now. So you get 75 range per 4 stacks. So he's now at like Caitlyn range.
Absolutely ludicrous. Aesthetic is essentially...
600 weight. He gets less range after the first... Okay, first 4 gives 75. Sorry, I got them mixed up. First 4 gives 75 range, and then he gets 25 cents. So he's not at Caitlyn range yet, but he's still... Each sexual 3... Okay, I don't know Kindred that well, right?
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Clear, first 4 gives you 75 range. Every subsequent 3 gives 25 range. So now he is 1 away from 625 range. Yeah, so he has 100 attack range bonus. He has bonus attack speed, bonus damage. Just basically, long story short, good for Kindred.
Basically, he's a monster, and you should definitely look on Aesthetic to be one of the major carries in this game for Nordavind, as they are now roughly 4,500 gold in the lead. Don't worry, mate. It's not that embarrassing. I didn't know what Dark Harvest
Note to self, learn what Kindred does.
Yeah, note to self, learn what Dark Harvest does.
See, what normally happens in my games is someone picks Kindred on my team, and they go 0-3 and get no stacks, so I don't need to know what changes.
Scoot.
Goodbye.
Yeah, they actually had a control ward there as well. Unless he just put that down. At the end of the day, though, they're going to lose this mid lane turret for that. Well, they won't, but they lose a lot of damage on the mid lane turret, and with Rift Herald spawning soon.
To me, this looks like a battle between the first place and the last place team.
But Singularity, the last place team.
Singularity are currently playing like a last place team right now. They are getting crushed, but that's not to sort of shy away from Nordavind massively stepping up. I like the fact that they've moved their draft in a different direction. Niter, he had a rough laning phase, doesn't matter, he's on Victor. Aesthetic, he had a great early game to mid game, and he's on a champion that can carry through to the later stages, and I feel like it suits them so much better.
I think the draft was just very solid from Nordavind. I mean, you first pick the Ornn, that's always going to give you a good presence in the top lane.
Yep, step 1 of winning games, first pick Ornn,
yep.
tick. Oh, we won.
Oh, we won.
Great.
There you go.
Nice. Wazor closing in at level 12, we'll be able to upgrade his own items.
Kroggson is ahead, but not ahead enough where he's suddenly going to start popping off and carrying the whole game.
Yeah, he's 900 gold up. Look at the jungle gold difference.
Oh my God, that is a 3 and a bit thousand gold difference for Aesthetic. He is essentially making up the majority of the gold lead here for Nordavind. But, and you know, your Kindred, you have that ultimate, even if things go south for you in the middle of a team fight.
Stacks now, I believe. So that's...
He'll need another
625 range.
Yeah, he'll need another 2.
So he's on 11.
Range.
So
he's 11.
He's got an extra stacks. Yeah, 65 range. So very long range.
And one more stack, he'll get some extra range, right? Because that will be the 3rd, 4th stack.
No, it's at 13.
Oh, at 13.
Every 3 after the first 4. That's why it's so complicated, right? Senna's simple.
You never really see Kindred get this many stacks.
Senna's 20, every 20. You know, Kindred's like, okay, 4, and then the subsequent 3.
And then the square root of 7 plus.
Yeah, and then you have to,
and then you've got to
find
steal
the hypotenuse.
to find the Declaration of Independence, recruit Nicolas Cage into your team, and then you end up with about 2.6 extra range.
But what I can say is that Aesthetic has managed to do that, right? He has managed to find the Declaration of Independence. And fundamentally, that's what's going to lead him to victory in this game.
Who would have known that the Declaration of Independence increases your range by 65?
I didn't for this.
Apparently none of us did. Anyway, back to the game, Singularity and Nordavind. Obviously, Nordavind in a really strong spot, really playing probably some of the best League of Legends that I've seen them play this entire split so far, just because, like you said, the change in style for them has worked out massively. Giving Aesthetic a bit more proactivity, giving him a bit more prerogative to be the guy that the team relies on, has definitely stepped up and I think played to the strength of this jungler. He looks very comfortable right now.
And right now, next goal, 5 members mid. They want to smash down this mid tower. We talked about how difficult it is to snowball a game when the mid tower's up, but I think they take this without the Herald even going down. Yep, instantly gone down. They're going to look for the tier 2. And Singularity, not much you can do to counteract.
Oh, an ultimate just to ward them away. May even look to get the engagement. Oh, he threads the needle. Rai goes down. This is going to be the inhibitor turret too. This is GG, boys, it feels like, as they get their knock up onto Vayu. The Gangplank ultimate will ward them away, but that is a 3 turret take off the back of the Rift Herald.
Oh, Adrian, that was clean. That was beautiful. This man's Thresh.
I think even he was surprised that might have hit because it was so close to being a minion. Vayu now, dodge out from Chrisberg, forced to flash. Nearly doing what he can, but honestly right now, Singularity look done and dusted. Nordavind have their number every step of the way.
I struggle to see a recourse, but the one saving grace is this Cassiopeia is strong.
Yeah.
This is a 200 CS at 18 minutes, 2-1 Cassiopeia, who's just been farming a side lane. Level 13, higher than everyone else in the game. If you are going to have a saving grace, then Krogson on Cassiopeia, pretty solid option.
Yeah, he has to be the one to step up here, though. As you can see, Aesthetic now being targeted. They are sitting on a control ward. They're actually in a rough position.
Yeah, this is a good way to
as Advian dodge out there. Beautiful ultimate from Krogson. Tries to turn things around. The ultimate from Kindred comes through. That is Krogson doing what he can to turn these team fights.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit of an overstep, getting caught around that. He did manage to avoid the hook and then land the ult, but ultimately didn't get anything positive from that other than his flash. Yeah, so not quite the hype play. I was sort of bigging up, but the Cassiopeia is strong. You know, maybe if everyone in Nordavind stands still for 10 seconds, she'll kill them all and get a panic kill.
Yeah, you need to get a 5-man ult and then somehow combo it into some insane CC. It's going to be the Dragon getting focused here. I think this is actually another mark for Kindred, by the way.
And the big thing is no ult for the Kindred, so you probably don't want to go for this one. But if you did...
I mean, Krogson's so far away right now. It doesn't even matter.
It's second Dragon.
You don't need to throw your team life away from this.
No one cares.
But it is another mark for Kindred.
True. If we can have
a look at Kindred again, I'd love to see.
Look at how many stacks. I believe he probably, because I always assume 12, and then 12. He's on 13.
He's 12.
So yeah, he just picks up extra stacks. You know, maybe this is Aesthetic's hidden passive. He gets double stacks.
I don't think I've seen a 12-stack Kindred in a game that I've cast before. He's basically had everything go right for him in terms of stack placement and position on the map. His gank path has been fantastic to play around, but not only playing around the lanes where he can actually find success, but also playing around where his stacks end up spawning in the jungle camps too.
Yeah. And also, he's winning, so...
Also good.
All good things, and now Wazo going to finish off his Infernal Mask with the upgrade, so he's bulky as anything. They have a great front line. He's going to soon start being able to hand out items to his team. There's the Might of the Rune King for the Lucian. There's the Luden's Echo upgrade. He actually hit level 13. He's given that upgrade right now to Chrisberg. So The team that are already ahead are just getting stronger. 5,500 gold lead, and Scoot, you're 3 levels down.
Scoot has not had a good time so far. I mean, end of the day, Aesthetic has been the guy.
Look at the damage just to Baron, all the percentage HP.
My God, look at this. Just disgusting how quickly they are burning through this. There's going to be an attempted stop. The ultimate comes through from Gangplank.
He's so high level, and he has the ult. It's really hard to steal here.
Oh, Scoot gets forced away and immediately just taken out, blown up at level 9. They get the shutdown onto Victor, but they lose the Baron. Nilly is taking side lane turrets, but they do lose a major objective for it.
Trying to stall all the recalls, but I mean, ultimately, it's not really going to change much. Nordavind, they are delivering on what we expected at the start of the split. This is what we were looking towards. A team who were at the top, putting Singularity in their place, and we didn't get it for such a long time, but this is finally them showing what they're capable of.
And they look like a team. They look like a team that should be at the top of the table right now with the way that they're playing. I mean, Singularity have had very little difficulty dismantling most teams that they've come up against. Yes, they've looked shaky against certain matchups. Yes, they lost to Bifrost, but then Bifrost also randomly beat Vipers.
Wait, Scoot!
Oh, Scoot.
He's gone.
Did he just get 2-shot? Oh my goodness,
That's not
Aesthetic.
damage.
That is just disgusting. Scoot, this is the worst time to play Lee Sin.
This is the worst game I have seen from Scoot.
Ever?
And I've seen a lot of games.
I mean,
from Scoot.
I feel bad for him because when you're playing Lee Sin this far behind, there is very little you can do. They're just going to get another turret here as well. This doesn't feel like a game that is recoverable for Singularity. Unless Krogson just somehow pulls out an absolutely insane team fight. And then he has to get through the Kindred ultimate as well, though, which is another issue. Aesthetic does take a bit of damage there from Rai, who is obviously a really gifted Ezreal player. Maybe could find that combo to burst through
He's got his
some
big
damage.
2-item spike.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Chrisberg's got 2 items plus the Ornn upgrade. Plus he's sitting on a lot of gold. Oh, Hawk comes in.
Doesn't quite land. Krogson keeping himself at the front line, just miasma to delay the push of these minion waves. To take a bit of damage there, however. That's going to be the ultimate from Chrisberg to just buy some time and force
with
him
both
away.
of those, the Huck and the Culling. Following on Nordavind, not too convinced with hitting skill shots at the moment.
I mean, some of the threads.
Some have been good, yeah.
I mean, like that thread the needle there coming through from earlier from Advian. They're going to get the mid lane inhibitor, although it looks like Vayu is trying to ward them away, and they'll have to just buy a bit more space before they can go for that objective. And again, just trying to push in minion waves left, right, and center. Vayu just essentially shoving Vayu away there with that bellow. They are defending nicely, though, Singularity, although Chrisberg will eventually pick up this mid lane inhibitor. But sometimes that's not a bad thing when you're behind, because it guarantees income coming your way.
I don't think this is a situation for it, though. This is a situation where enemy team uses that pressure to end the game. Even if the Baron times out, I feel like Nordavind are going to keep taking structures because Singularity are just so weak.
Going to get the mid lane tier 2, and you said that a metric of success for Baron is at least getting every outer structure. And then also, it's a bonus if you can pick up inner structures and inhibitors.
Yeah. For the first Baron, if you can already break the base, then that is above what you'd hope for. But Aesthetic, they're going to try.
They're going to try. He'll have to bust that ultimate very quickly, and he will. He's very, very, very low, but obviously has that ability to sustain.
He's down
to Krogson. That's a huge damage that has gone down, and Krogson is still very, very, very healthy. Flashes away, uses the Seraphs as well. That's now the Victor coming through. Krogson can only do so much, and he did try as he might. It is a 3-for-2 overall. And
Cleanup comes in.
And there's just a mid lane inhibitor getting shoved down. Those super minions are now pressuring the Nexus turrets. They're going to get the top lane inhibitor to boot. It doesn't matter how much pressure you put onto Aesthetic. Krogson cannot do everything by himself. As a short-range mage like Cassiopeia, he's obviously going to be suspect to Naita, who is actually pretty strong in his own right now as well.
Yeah, he actually came up, cleaned up, found the damage to turn things around. And Krogson, he did his best. They do get the shutdown onto the Kindred, which is a ton of gold, but ultimately, game still in favor of Nordavind. Just a little bit of an overstep towards the end, but 2 inhibitors down. They're now heading towards that dragon on the bot side of the map, and then they can just walk the bot lane wave in. Apply pressure from there until Baron spawns. Really, it's, Baron's in 2 minutes. I don't even think they need to apply much pressure bot lane. You can just send anyone there.
Look at the disgusting items that the Aesthetics picked up. Got the Phantom Dancer plus another BF sword as well. You've got another needlessly coming out, as well as working towards what I assume is going to be either rapid fire or something of the ilk. Probably rapid fire here coming through for Lucian.
Yeah, rapid fire for Lucian, give a bit of extra range. For the Kindred, he's now on 15 stacks.
Oh my God.
So I believe has 650 range.
Oh! Oh, so close, but unfortunately that last moment of the recall is always invulnerable, so they won't get the kill onto Krogson. The flash now down onto Wazor. That would have been game ending if they picked up Krogson there. You're talking milliseconds between losing the game for Singularity.
Yep. And I believe now... Can we check the range on Kindred?
I'd love to have a look. You can see there, it is
650. So now you're at Caitlyn range.
Now you're Caitlyn. But
One
you
more
do a lot
stack
more
and you're at
percentage health damage.
675. I mean, you do a lot more damage than most champions at this point.
Yeah.
So they are just applying pressure on this bot lane wave, letting the supers push in. Dragon was taken. They got 3. 1 away from Soul. 55 seconds to the Baron, but they want to end now. Engage coming in.
Call of the Forge God only lands onto the gangplank, but it buys a bit of space to get some damage onto that bot lane inhibitor turret. Scoot just desperate. I mean, the only thing Scoot can do here is find a kick that essentially isolates.
I mean, look at his items.
Yeah, he's
That's
so.
tragic.
I mean, he's tragic. He hasn't even upgraded his boots. He's had a disgustingly bad game. Not always his fault, obviously. I can't crap on Scoot too much because end of the day, Aesthetic absolutely crushed this game, and sometimes that's just what happens as a jungler.
Yep.
It's not all to do with Scoot.
See, what you can do is when you have a bad game like this, when you're 0-7 in the jungle, I've learned this, you can just blame your bot lane.
Well, there you go. Not that I think the bot lane from Singularity.
But it's the response.
It's the response. I think the
bot lane wins.
problem is that Scoot just made that one bad decision in the early game that he tried to go for the Thresh over the Kindred in that little engage with Vayu, and that essentially...
Yeah, you misplayed that engage. You gave a ton of advantages over to Kindred.
Because that was 3 stacks picked up, right? So
yeah, he snowballed super heavy off that, and then he just took the momentum, ran away with it. Right now, they're trying to get some vision on this Baron, but they might end up getting caught out if they overstay too far. Crispig's looking for Krogson.
He's looking for Krogson, but Krogson is
Krogson's
very...
looking for Crispig.
Krogson burnt the ultimate there. This might be a sign for Nordavind to look for the engage. Get the hook on... goodbye, Scoot.
Was that Scoot? I thought that was a cannon minion. We're at about the same gold.
Oh, no. Come on, Dan. He's got a family.
It's a rough one, but that guarantees the Baron for Nordavind. You're going to see 16 stacks on that Kindred. He's now got 675 range, even more damage, and at this point, it's just looking pretty doomed for Singularity. They're going to head to that bot lane. Actually, they're chasing down Krogson with no ult, no flash. But movement speed was given.
Krogson just trying to delay. That's a lot of damage coming out from a single Q. He's going to try and teleport away here.
Field. The miasma slowed him. He can't get in range.
He can't get in range, and he gets out with a nice teleport there. Unfortunately, it's a teleport that's for naught, essentially just to save his life.
That's the best play Singularity had this whole game. That's rough.
I mean, Crogson's 4-2, so he's having an okay game.
Yeah, he's having a solid one. He's up in farm. He's still ahead of everyone in farm. But I think that's largely due to Nordavind farming champions.
He's actually got a gold lead over
Aesthetics on the hunt.
Niter.
Oh, this Kindred's so scary.
She's double the gold almost of Scoot. It's going to get the red buff taken away. Scoot's just like, what can I do?
He's 5 levels up.
Oh my gosh.
5.
But like I said, Krogson's actually up in gold. He's going to go down here from a nice hook from Advi, and that's the only player that you care about, I think, if you're trying to deal with Singularity. Rai gets the pick on to Crispberg, who is now down, but look at how tanky Visor is in the front line. Nice little flay. Scoot gets the kick there that does a lot of damage to Niter as the max HP really coming in. Scoot goes in. What a monster! But he's just going to die. Aesthetic. Aesthetic. It will come in. They'll get some inhibitors off the back of this. They might even be able to push in for the win here. They are looking to do so.
3v3 right now.
3v3, but you have a jungler with about 50,000 gold.
And you have like 86 million minions.
You do, with Vazor, who is basically unkillable with the people that you've got left on your team.
They'll give it their best effort, though. The end is looking to come in.
Pushing in now to the base. Aesthetic going on to Nili, who's forced to flash away. Aesthetic actually takes a lot of damage here. Advian goes low. Rai is really doing his best as Vayu misses the Zenith Blade. Going to get the knock up here as Aesthetic comes through. Krogson back into the fray.
The miasma is actually huge.
The miasma is big as now Aesthetic goes down to Krogson. They've actually saved the day, but for how long? They've lost everything in their base. They are going to be dealing with double inhibitor, double super minion waves pushing in constantly. And now Krogson is basically the saving grace of this team. Krogson is
there is a consolation prize.
Yeah. Guaranteed income.
Guaranteed farm. But unfortunately, Dragon Soul coming up soon. I think Singularity actually going to try to take that one, but it's a little bit risky. I think Scoot, as much as there may not be a jungler on the team, I think anyone in the enemy team can 1v1 you. Maybe not at the end.
Scoot's gone for Dust Blade of Dragtha.
I mean,
that's a hopeful pick.
If you're doing nothing, You might as well do nothing in style. In fairness, he actually got a good kick last fight. He found the execute onto Naita, so considering he's 0-9, he did solid. I think he's just going for make a kick, make the biggest impact with that kick possible on the lethality, and die. That is his game plan.
I think he kicked a gargoyle stone-plated visor into Naita, and I think it might have done about 3/5 of his HP.
Yeah,
just because of the max HP.
That's the play. That is literally the play.
Maybe you line up the perfectly Sing kick with just a over-buffed visor. And
it's like bowling.
Yeah, literally like bowling. That's the way that you play this.
For now, though, Singularity trying to defend against all these waves. Ocean Soul being picked up for Nordavind, so their longevity is amplified with all that mana sustain and the healing. Particularly Wise are going to be even harder to kill than he already was. But you take a look, you have the Executioners calling on Riot to shut that down. Rabadon's now for Krogson. This is the moment they have to try and defend.
Krogson level 17. He's the only one that's matched up to Aesthetic. He's literally the Krogson versus Aesthetic. Oh, screwed! He saves his life for Chrisberg as they jump onto Aesthetic now. He's kiting away from Vayu, who's trying his best. Krogson getting locked up by Vazor. Nothing he can do. I do think that Riot picked up a kill there, and it's now Aesthetic versus the world as Krogson doing his best to force Vazor away. Krogson's doing a lot of percentage HP damage right now.
But Vazor's just invincible.
He is invincible, but now Aesthetic taking damage. Krogson actually doing his best as Aesthetic flashes in, forces the flash away from Krogson. They're going straight for the Nexus as Nearly doing what he can. The knockup won't come through. Krogson, it's up to you now, my friend. You've got to stop this Nexus going down. Nearly jumps in onto Aesthetic, can't get the work done. Krogson surrounded by inhibitor minions. Nothing he can do here, trying his best, and he will eventually go down with the Nexus. It'll be Singularity losing to Nordavind in a massive upset based on the scorelines of the Nordic Championship so far.
What I will say is that was the best 0-10 lead-in play I have ever seen.
That redeemed him in my heart.
Yeah, that redeemed, but unfortunately, scoreline's still really low, and Singularity held on, and I think it sort of shows that this is not a pushover team. This is our #1 team who just got dethroned by Nordavind. Finally, we see the roster we expected from Nordavind. Aesthetic was a monster. Was an absolute flat-out monster. No other way you can describe it. When we had a great game from him against Vipers last week, but he was on Elise. And he had 7 kills at one point, and I was like, well, you're Elise, you're going to fall off. He does not fall off in this Kindred, and I think give him a pick that has longevity in the game that is relevant later on. Aesthetic's a monster. Give Naita something that isn't like a Pantheon where he's going to fall off if he doesn't win early. And this team does well. They did absolute work. It seems like they found their identity. They're playing around it well. And the fact that they've taken down Singularity, I have hopes that this team can make playoffs. Right now, they are 3-6. One more point to match Bifrost.
There are two wins between 3rd and 6th right now.
Yeah.
So, okay, Vipers and Singularity almost guaranteed playoffs, I feel, just because of how far they are ahead at the bottom end of the pack. I will be, my league admin will eventually be able to tell me who is guaranteed playoffs and who is not. But right now, Nordavind have a shot, and they are very, very close to sort of getting to that 3rd or 4th spot, just with a couple of wins here or there. So, this is still all to play for in the Nordic Championship, and that is a much-needed win for Nordavind.
Yeah, and it sets the tone so much, because going into playoffs, it's going to be so exciting. If Nordavind make it, which isn't even a definite at the moment, that's how many games they ended up losing. If they make playoffs, they are a force to be reckoned with, and I cannot wait to see a series between Singularity and Nordavind, because the first game was super back and forth. This one was a stomp. It feels like this clear hierarchy we had with Singularity, Vipers, Hillerod, and then the rest has just been dismantled. It feels. Vipers the only team who have still sort of maintained their trajectory. Hillerod's win streak ended. Singularity being taken down. It feels so competitive still, and that's what I think I've enjoyed the most about the Nordics, is I think there's never going to be a point where it's too late to call.
Yeah, and like a lot of other leagues where there are just massive front runners, the Nordics really does feel like anybody can take a win on their day, and that keeps everything really competitive throughout the entire thing. So this has been the first day. Obviously, we've got another day of games coming tomorrow. Let's take a look at the schedule, and we can see what's coming up. Dusty versus Hillerod, Team Singularity versus Atlando, Nordavind versus Hybrid, and then Viper versus Bifrost. I'm really looking forward to Dusty versus Hillerod. That's obviously a big middle of the table matchup. I think then Nordavind versus Hybrid will be a good one, because if Nordavind can continue this momentum, then this is going to be really big for them.
I mean, Hybrid are struggling at the moment, but Hybrid are a team that Nordavind want to beat. They are at the same scoreline off them. They had a good game today. Nordavind need to continue the momentum and start racking up wins, but Hybrid on the other side as well, it can go either way. I feel like whichever team wins that is setting that trajectory towards playoffs, because if you start dropping games now this late, after tomorrow, we have 4 games left for each team. So 5 from now. 5 games left to decide your fate. Doesn't matter if you're just at the bottom of playoffs or at the top. Obviously, it affects who you're going to be playing. But the fact is, once you get there, you can play and win the whole thing. If you come 5th, it doesn't matter how good you're playing. You're not going to be in playoffs.
And there we are, top 4, obviously what we're aiming for here, and all plenty to play for. I think the only person that are really going to struggle at this point might be Orlando. That might be the only team that could struggle to make it to the top 4 at this point in time. Definitely, I don't think impossible, but it's definitely something that will be more difficult for them. But Nordavind, if they continue this run, there is a real shot that they make it to playoffs and they can show what they've got, because they have just shown us that they should technically be a top caliber team in the Nordic Championships. After they played that game versus Singularity, and they made it look easy, and Singularity have pretty much wiped the floor with most competition in the Nordics so far. That was what I wanted to see from Nordavind from the very start of the Nordic League, so I'm really excited to see what they do tomorrow.
And it only took 4 weeks.
Only took 4 weeks. Speaking of tomorrow, we'll see you then.